First, I would like to thank everybody for joining me for my presentation. I'll be speaking about the Amber Alert, and this is an informative presentation. And we're going to go into the history of the Amber Alert, the statistics of exploited children, as well as how technology is advancing the Amber Alert process. First, the Amber Alert began in Dallas, Texas in 1996. AMBER stands for Americans Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. And the Amber Alert acronym came about because Amber Hagerman, she was an 8-year-old riding her bike and she was abducted and murdered. And so that's how the Amber Alert came about. The Amber Alert is relatively new. As of 2001, only 4 states had implemented plans to adequately get the Amber Alert warnings out to everyone in the communities. And then in 2002, President Bush, he held the first White House conference on Amber Alerts. And he appointed the U.S. Attorney General's assistant to be the National Amber Alert Coordinator. And in 2003, on April 30th, that's when President Bush, he signed the Protection Act. All right. For the Amber Alert, there are certain criteria that you have to fit for an actual Amber Alert to go out. And the criteria, and this is set by the Department of Justice. Each state kind of tweaks theirs just a little bit for everybody to do it a little bit different, but this is your uniform criteria for the Amber Alert. So first, they suggest that that law enforcement confirm that it's actually an abduction, because with a lot of family law matters, sometimes an angry wife or angry husband might call and report a child abducted and they're not really abducted, and so then there's wasting resources. Secondly, the child must be in serious danger and possibly for a serious injury or death. And then you have to have a very detailed description of the child as well as the abductor. And so a lot of times when you see the Amber Alert, it'll say they're in this vehicle going this, wherever they're going. The child must be 17 years or younger to be considered for an Amber Alert. And you also must have the child's name and critical information about the child, whether they're wearing any birthmarks or identifying marks on that child. And that'll be entered into the FBI's national database. And that way, if the child is taken from Texas to Louisiana, it's in the FBI database, everyone has access to it and they can alert, one another when they see that child. And for children that don't fit the criteria for the Amber Alert, there are child abduction response teams. And these teams are all throughout the U.S. I think there are 333 active teams in different states throughout the U.S. and they will go in and help law enforcement recover children who may not fit the emergency need or criteria just yet. So these are the terrible truths. As of 2016, there were 465,676 missing children reported, and that's just 2016. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they've assisted in 20,000 cases. And this is the breakdown. 90% of the children missing are runaways. For a runaway, 1 in 6 will become a sex trafficking victim. 6% were abducted by family members, 9 by non-family, and 2 are considered as between the age of 18 and 20. And so for them, they are not necessarily considered under the criteria of Amber Alert. And so nearly 3/4 of abducted children will be murdered within the first few hours. This is the effectiveness. As of 2016, 857 children were rescued under the Amber Alert criteria. Technology has helped with the Amber Alert because Facebook and MySpace now send out notifications. And as recently as 2013, that's why we now get the Amber Alerts on our wireless devices. It will ping where you are and ping where the child was abducted from. And as of February 2013, one child, that's when the first child was recovered because of the cell phone pings. And 2014, that's when Mexico launched its first missing alert website. And now Facebook has the push talks. If you have I'm at 10 minutes?
10 seconds.
Oh. If you have a child missing, These are different protocols that you can follow, and I've also given out handouts for you to alert the authorities if a child is missing. And this is what we do. Awareness, accountability will help us protect our children. Thank you.